Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking. That means a lot to you guys. Keep clicking. If you guys keep clicking, I'll keep making. And no matter how you feel about these two seasons, 41 and 42, we can all agree that these two seasons are definitely polarizing, and that this new era has now ushered in this ultra advantage, not really focused on character moments. Some would argue maybe casts that are more game body and less personable. And definitely with this new era, it's definitely been polarizing. Me personally, I'm not really the biggest fan, although I do see some positives. I do think that the abundance of choices in the game is good. Like for example, Shipwell Island, where players are basically given a bunch of options. I like that a lot. Like people having control over their own destiny and being able to seize the day. I like that. But things that I don't like, the do or die twist, the hourglass stuff, as well as these really game body casts that are really not that good at the game even in the first place. But even then, their sell is that they're good at the game and they have no substance as characters. On top of that, obviously the abundance of identity politics in the game is also really annoying. And so there's a lot to hate about it, but there is a couple things to like about it. And really it's all building up to 43, right? This big season that we have. Is it going to go in the full direction of, okay, now we're going to fully go into this new era of Survivor and really lean into all of the bad stuff that I just said? Or are they going to do a complete refresh and just get rid of everything, go right back to old Survivor? Or are they going to try and keep some things and keep others? And if so, are those some things going to be good things, bad things, or something in between? That's what we're going to talk about in today's video, really just the future of Survivor. And before we start, make sure to like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff because it's free, it's easy, and it really helps the channel out. So just to clarify, the reason why they even did 26 days in the first place is because they knew at the time of filming both 41 and 42, there was a mandatory 14-day quarantine for people coming into Fiji. And so therefore, they had to quarantine for 2 weeks. And they did the math, and for 14 days plus 26 game days equals 40 total days of being out there for the contestants, which adds up to about the same time as a regular season. Because think about it, a regular season is 39 days, so 26 plus 14, 40, 39, basically the exact same amount of time. So it's not that they needed to be out there for less time, it's that they needed time to quarantine the players. Now, they really don't have that excuse anymore. On top of that, we see many drawbacks with 26 days. Not only just the fact that it just sounds weird. It's a weird number, and it does feel weird. Obviously, if they never told us, we wouldn't necessarily be able to guess 100%, what happened to the pacing of the game. But I think we'd probably at least notice the pacing being different. The game feels more forced. It feels slower in a way. Like it's weird. You would think the game would go faster and more fast-paced as they have to squeeze in this same amount of the gameplay into less days. But the game actually feels slower since the players just seem to be playing less and just being much more exhausted. And that's also attributed to them trying to suffice for having less days by giving them no food, which makes the players exhausted and therefore makes them not really want to play the game as hard strategically. I mean, these past 4 votes have been pretty simple votes. Even the quote-unquote big blind side in high, it was a pretty consensus vote. I mean, you had most people on the side of getting out high. In fact, they even brought up the idea of possibly flipping on this plan, but they were like, you know what, no, everyone's on our side for this one. Let's just all do it together. That's really boring gameplay, and I think that can be partly attributed to them trying to starve them in order to make up for it being 26 days and the game not really being Survivor, but more being the shortened version of Survivor. Not to mention, on CBS's casting website for 43 and 44, they say that you are making a 46-day commitment to the show, basically, and being out in Fiji. And to me, that points to the season being longer. But the big issue that, everyone's kind of worried about is that CBS will just say, hey, we can film more seasons in a shorter amount of time and make the same amount of money. Why would we not do this? It's a great business investment. And they're right. I mean, the ratings have, gone down now below 6 million, when during Winners at War, they were around 8 million at certain points. And so I think you definitely have to notice that, but I think CBS will still see the fact that it's still one of the highest viewed shows on television, since television is kind of failing right now, and that they can get away with doing this. I think what they don't realize is that when you put people on an island for less days, they're going to rely more on their pre-merge bonds, because when you're at the merge and you've known someone for 3 days, but you've already voted out 3 people, on a regular season, that's knowing somebody for 9 days. But because they're like voting out people every single day in this format, it's tough to really make alliances at the merge that stick. And you end up with either one, alliances from the pre-merge dictating the game, or 2, the post-merge just being a crazy frenzy of people jumping around and it not really being coherent, kind of like a Game Changers or a Winners at War. And so I think, to me, it's very iffy, and either way that it goes, it's really a shit show for CBS and for Survivor. I will say the editing has gotten better from 41 to 42. I think no matter who wins at this point, they've at least gotten somewhat of a sufficient winners edit. And I think on top of that, the storytelling from this season is better. The casting is also slightly better on this season than last season, but I think it's still pretty lackluster and definitely focused on game bots rather than characters. I mean, like, could you imagine getting an S tier casting choice in this era? Like, imagine getting like a Tony or like a Russell Hantz from this era of casting, and just it really doesn't fit. And I feel like they're casting the exact same type of people and not casting like your mafioso archetype who always sticks out, and instead are opting to cast kind of these weak players who call themselves game bots but are actually really, really bad at the game. I'm looking at you, Zach. Like, I understand casting Zachs works because these are the people that people relate to, you know, like the nerdy people who are game bots. Like, yes, I'm supposed to relate to that person, but I relate better to Jonathan, someone who is socially at least there and can connect. I don't want to watch 5 people flame out in the pre-merge. I actually want to see some good gameplay. And it seems like to me they're casting like 5 Jacob Derwins every season, and that's a serious issue that they're gonna have to deal with soon. But whether you like this new era or not, I think we can all agree that 42 is a big catalyst for where the show is going to go, and if the show is trending upward or trending downwards. And it's to be seen which one of those is the case. But what do you think? Is Survivor trending upward? Is it trending downwards? Is the show going to go off the air in a year, or is the show going strong 20 plus years after this video drops? Let me know in the comments. As always, guys, none of this happens without you guys. Mr. Weird Guy's going to weird microphone. So as always, thank you. And if that's what, I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.